Clarence, it's just now 6 o'clock. I don't know if you want to get started or want to
I think we go ahead and get started.
Okay. Would you like the representatives from the Maryland Department of Education and the search committee to introduce themselves?
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Clarence Crawford. I'm serving as president of the state board this year and co-leading the search committee with Senator Gail Bates. We're very happy to have you here. Our board members are participating because they want to be able to hear firsthand your comments. We value your comments, your suggestions.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm hearing feedback. Does somebody have the video running?
Maybe what we could do is just ask
logged into the YouTube channel. They should disconnect from that. They shouldn't be on the Zoom and the YouTube channel at the same time because you'll get feedback.
Okay. I want to also ask everyone to mute until your time to speak. That will help as well. I'm going to ask each of the board members to provide a brief welcome, and then we're going to turn the meeting back to Julie from Greenwood Asher. Again, we value your comments. We thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. I'm going to turn to first Senator Bates. Senator Bates.
I have to unmute. Okay. Thank you very much for the introduction, Clarence. It really is a pleasure to serve on this committee. We appreciate the work of Greenwood Archer and are looking forward to the comments that people are going to make. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you. And now Ms. Halley, who is also serves as our vice president.
Good evening. I'm so happy to hear the public comments, and I'm looking forward to finding a new superintendent to lead Maryland in the future. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. At this time, we will turn to Ms. McCusker.
Good evening, I'm Rachel McCusker. I'm the active teacher member of the State Board of Education. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to speak with us this evening. Your input is really valuable and helpful in directing us towards our ideal candidates. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Morrow.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lori Morrow, and I am the designated parent member living in Prince George's County.
Thank you. Mr. DeShields? You're muted. Chip, you're muted. Okay. You still, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Clarence. I'm Chip DeShield, member of the State Board, and appreciate the opportunity to hear from the public this evening. We look forward to your comments, and certainly we'll give them due consideration in our deliberations, and appreciate you taking time to provide that input to the search committee and to the board members. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, General Sumter.
Let me just add my thanks and echo what the other board members have said, and thank you for all of you that participated. It is very important.
Thank you again. As I turn it back to Julie, I would ask each of our presenters, if you would, complete the online survey. Get other people from the state that you know to complete the survey. We value your feedback, and we look forward to receiving all of your feedback. At this time, I'd like to turn it back to Julie. Julie, thank you very much.
Thank you. Jan, before I get started with talking about the process, would you like to share any words with the participants?
Folks, we're very much welcoming you to join us with Greenwood Asher and the State Board and Search Committee members. We look forward to your comments and will be listening quite carefully as they will help us in terms of recruiting candidates for your consideration. So thank you for taking the time.
And again, thank you. As Jan said, we're very interested in the feedback that we are receiving at all of these forums. It's really helpful to us as we do the work of recruiting for your next superintendent. In terms of process, you all have received a speaker number, and we'll be calling upon you to speak in order of the number that you have. You'll each have 3 minutes to provide comments. I will give you, they'll be timed, and I'll give you a warning when you have 1 minute left, and then I'll let you know when your 3 minutes are up. When you are, it's your turn to speak, as Clarence said, if you would all stay muted, and when it's your turn to speak, just go ahead and unmute yourself. And then once you're finished speaking, go ahead and then remute, if that's a word, to yourself, so that we can avoid unnecessary background distractions. We sent you a number of prompts, so we encourage you to respond to those prompts, and then also share with us any additional comments that you feel will be important information that we would need as we are preparing the profile and also in terms of our recruitment efforts. So if we could, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Our first speaker is Carmeli Leal. So we are ready to hear your comments.
Good evening. To the esteemed members of the search committee and the state board, I thank you for your time and dedication in finding a state superintendent that can serve everyone within the education system of Maryland. Like Ms. Hawley just stated, my name is Carmeli Leal, the president of the Maryland Association of Student Councils, and more importantly, a student. I'm a senior attending school remotely every day at Eastern Technical High School in Baltimore County as one of the almost 900,000 K-12 students in Maryland public schools. That's 900,000 individual voices, backgrounds, and experiences that make up one of the largest stakeholder groups of our state's education system. It's a lot of people. Yet somehow our voices seem to always fall to the wayside or become an afterthought. We're not routinely involved in task forces or work groups in the state, and there are rarely convenient times for us to testify in front of the state board or committees for our needs. I want a superintendent who will acknowledge that the education system is meant for students and therefore is willing to actively listen to our voices. The students of Maryland need and deserve a superintendent that will prioritize students above all. It's also important that they do not consider the students of Maryland as a monolith. As I'm sure you've all already acknowledged, the schools of Maryland are incredibly diverse. From the schools of the Eastern Shore to those of the Appalachian Mountains, these schools and these students have their own challenges. When making any decision, equity, cultural sensitivity, and anti-racism must also play a substantial role. Numerous voices from all across the state must be taken into consideration when making statewide guidelines, and individual school systems must be given the attention needed to thrive. Next, it's paramount that the state superintendent recognizes student needs outside the classroom as well, such as food insecurity, mental wellness, and so on. For example, extracurriculars provide solace from day-to-day stresses that students face in today's world. Now more than ever, we must pay attention to the mental health of students, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic continuing to loom in the foreseeable future. Another challenge for the new state superintendent that goes without saying. To ensure that students are being heard and cared for, the new state superintendent must commit to involving students in various levels of decision-making. They should also value student leadership organizations that help to represent students and foster invaluable leadership skills. The reinstitution of the PIN position for the Maryland Association of Student Councils, the same organization that chooses the finalists for the state student member of the Board of Education, can be a first step, proving their commitment and ensuring the strength of the organization now and in the future. Thank you all again for your time this evening, and I look forward to the new possibilities for success that a new Maryland State Superintendent brings.
Thank you very much, Carmeli. Appreciate your comments. Very helpful. Okay, our next speaker is speaker number 2, Lauren Raskin. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Raskin, and I am a junior at Poulsville High School in Montgomery County. I speak before you today as a representative of the Maryland Association of Student Councils, specifically under my title of MASC Advocacy Coordinator. I have had the honor of participating in MASC for a little over 6 months and can wholeheartedly profess that it has been one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences of my high school career. It is no coincidence that during these 6 short months, I have learned more about my capabilities as a young leader, experienced more meaningful personal development, and acquired more lifelong skills necessary for future success than I ever had before. In its very nature, MASC is an outlet for student growth. The very heart and soul of the organization works to bring out the innate leadership capability of its participants, working to lift up and empower the voices of those involved. Through various workshops, seminars, legislative sessions, and so much more, MASC equips students with a multitude of significant skills, including, but not limited to, public speaking, time management, research and writing, and most importantly, the ability to work effectively as a team. With this in mind, MASC is much more than an instructional entity. It is a place that encourages students to work closely together, forming bonds that are strengthened through a multitude of activities in which we lead. As a result of the nurturing and collaborative environment, I have had the opportunity to form valuable and meaningful friendships with those whom I work. It is without embellishment that I firmly state MASC is one of the leading contributors to the success of the Maryland population. It paves the way for rising student leaders to be successful in any profession they choose, to create an even brighter tomorrow. As such, I believe that the State Board of Education must consider hiring a superintendent that understands and appreciates the value of this type of student leadership organization by reinstating a PIN position for MASC. This will ensure the sustainability of its good work and the prosperity of students to come. In summary, MASC is an essential program, and its longevity is something that the superintendent must not only support, but actively promote. I greatly appreciate the honor to speak before you tonight, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your comments, Lauren. Moving on to speaker number 3, Leslie Margolis.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Leslie Margolis. I'm a managing attorney at Disability Rights Maryland, the state's protection and advocacy organization. But I'm here tonight as the chairperson of the Education Advocacy Coalition for Students with Disabilities, which is a group of approximately 30 organizations and individuals concerned with policy issues affecting students with disabilities throughout the state of Maryland. We appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts with you about the superintendent position and about education in Maryland. So I'm going to respond to each of your prompts in turn. With respect to the first prompt, what characteristics and qualifications should the next superintendent have? Without a doubt, the next superintendent must be a proven leader who has a commitment to public education and to equity, with the ability to implement that commitment. Additionally, the superintendent must have the ability to communicate effectively and to listen well, to inspire and respect those who work within the Department of Education and those outside of the department, to break down barriers between the offices and divisions within the department, and to foster trust both within and outside of the department by promoting transparency and strong relationships with all members of the stakeholder community. And with regard to the second prompt, what are the challenges and opportunities the next superintendent will face? Obviously, the next superintendent will have to address continued pandemic-related issues, including school reopenings, recovery and compensatory services, and irreparable learning loss. Additionally, the superintendent is going to need to grapple with digital equity issues, continued disproportionate discipline of students with who are Black and Brown and students with disabilities, in addition to disproportionate use of restraint and seclusion with those populations of students, as well as inequitable education opportunities based on zip code. The superintendent is also going to have to take over a department that has isolated itself from stakeholders for the past several years and whose staff, at least to outside advocates, seems to have morale and little communication with each other across divisions and offices. One of the opportunities is that if the blueprint legislative veto is overridden, the superintendent will have the opportunity to shape education policy for the next decade. In terms of what a superintendent would need to accomplish to be viewed as a success, the next superintendent must take measurable steps to eliminate the school to prison pipeline, to reduce the use of restraint and seclusion in schools, and to take measurable steps to create a climate of transparency within the department, repair the relationships with community stakeholders, and make equity more than just a buzzword. Thank you again for the opportunity to talk to you tonight.
Thank you, Leslie. We really appreciate your comments. Very helpful. Moving next to speaker number 4, Laura Wheeldryer.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to address the State Board and the Search Committee. I'm Laura Wheeldryer. I'm the Executive Director of Maryland Family Network. We're a statewide nonprofit organization and a partner to MSD on many early childhood programs and issues. And fun fact, I'm a former member of the State Board of Education. So good work, hard work. Thanks for all your service. Tonight, I am here really to talk and represent families with young children, child care providers, and early childhood teachers, because I think it is very easy to focus on the huge, the huge lift that MSD has related to K-12 education and forget that MSD is also responsible for the care and education of the youngest children in our state. The next superintendent has the opportunity to create a world-class prenatal to college system and to really expand how we think about the investment in the next generation of our state, educationally, socially, emotionally, post-secondarily. There are a lot of opportunities. And I stress to you the early childhood opportunity because 90% of brain development happens by the age of 5. Nobel economist James Heckman has traveled the world talking about the return on investments in early childhood interventions, high quality care and education is a 13% ROI per year. It is perhaps the most important thing MSD can invest in. And I say that as somebody who has spent 25 years working on K-12 education. The bottom line is our public school system will never be as successful as we all hope it will be without a system of high quality early childhood care and education. The challenges are numerous. We have concerns about the financial sustainability and potential collapse of the childcare industry due to the pandemic. We have children all over the state missing their vaccinations and developmental milestones as they are kept out of care, out of preschool, at home, without interacting with other kids in the world. Maryland has a lot of wealth as a state, but Maryland is complacent about the performance of our most vulnerable children. This is not the time to take our foot off the gas. You may not know this, but we have some national philanthropic investments through the Pritzker's Children Initiative to create an early childhood system. And MSD has been a leader in this work and could be seen as a national leader in this work. The bottom line is that we need a visionary leader who sees, who values, and who invests in all the children in Maryland from the time they are born or even before and through when they walk into a public school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Appreciate your comments. Next on the list is speaker number 5, Kim Beard. I don't think I see her in the room. Is Kim Beard here? No. Well, we'll move on to speaker number 6, Joan Smith.
There we go.
There, okay.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. I appreciate your time and your energy in seeking the best new superintendent for Maryland. Our Maryland schools must be an experienced educator and a highly visible communicator who is able to navigate the challenges facing public education today. The superintendent must be flexible and collaborative, receptive of advice and input from educators. The strong educator voices and expertise of educator affiliated with associations such as MSEA must be recognized as essential partners with the new state superintendent. He or she must be highly visible, an ambassador, if you will, for education in our state, visiting classrooms around the state, observing firsthand the needs of students and educators, and then acting to support them. Former federal and state mandates, usually unfunded, that determine much of what happens in the classroom must be reconsidered. And experienced educators seeking to provide a balanced education to support students' social, emotional, and academic well-being and needs. This new superintendent must set a focus on developing high-performing districts, not determined by testing. Expectations and resources are mismatched after all. Accountability and authority are misaligned. Testing should not be a punishment for students, educators, school systems, or communities. As an education ambassador, the new superintendent will need to enlighten public perceptions and set realistic priorities. Reducing class size, recognizing quality innovations in instruction, and providing for the implementation of programs that will grow relevant teaching and learning experiences for our students. These must be the priorities for the new state superintendent.
1 minute.
The critical services and supports that schools provide, daily nutrition, emotional and mental health, and access to technology must be fully funded. Yet, a majority of our schools face serious detrimental budget shortages. There are growing numbers of at-risk students. Aware of the unique social and emotional and economic challenges in school districts across our state, the new superintendent must consistently and constantly seek to remedy them. Ruinous budget cuts that cripple our public schools must be averted. The new state superintendent must recognize and fight for needed legislation and funding as suggested in the Blueprint for Maryland's Future to make our schools successful, safe, and healthy places of learning. The new superintendent must be fixed in a vision and lead school systems in Maryland with a strong commitment to student learning, where our graduates are prepared to lead successful lives in the community and where our schools are respected and sought after for employment by the most highly qualified educators. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joan. Appreciate your comments. Next is speaker number 7, Teresa Dudley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Teresa Mitchell Dudley, and for the past 20 blah, blah, blah years, I've been a public school educator in Prince George's County. I am the elected president of the Prince George's County Educators, and I represent the 10,000 educators in Prince George's County. You gave us the 4 questions. What characteristics and qualifications? They must be an education community builder. The qualifications are that they must listen, collaborate, and demonstrate with all groups, parents, educators, students, employees, and their collective bargaining representatives, elected and appointed officials. They must be able to collaborate with all different groups of people and really collaborate and work with them and hear people. Community allies and educational organizations should also be heard. They should be qualified to build capacity to honor our state's constitutional requirement to fund and manage our schools. The challenge and opportunities are great. The challenge we face include teacher certification process and how do we improve the process for conditional teachers? How do we handle specialized certificates and ensure that local jurisdictions are correctly handling certification? Other challenges include the implementation of restorative practices to minimize school suspensions, the lack of trauma-informed instruction, and social emotional learning. The opportunities that will be afforded with the impending passage of the Maryland Blueprint are great, including the expansion of community schools. We must adopt community school guidelines, and they must lead on that. We must safely reopen the schools that we want to see. That means safely with respect to COVID and safely with respect to making sure that our students are not being disciplined by armed officers in our schools. It is a big problem, and that's one of the reasons why the Prince George's County Educators Association has taken a position of the removal of the armed officers from our schools. Our state guarantees of public education, what distinguishes us, our guarantee of a public education to all students, no matter what zip code and the concentration of poverty in their school. Our schools must reopen safely. The COVID is one pandemic. They must ensure that Maryland creates a pipeline to secure educators for the future, especially educators of color. They must create a learning environment that is free of tracking students of color. They must address the institutional racism that exists in our schools, and they must also address the issues of the use of armed officers. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and energy.
Thank you, Teresa. We appreciate your comments as well. The last speaker is Kimberly Hughes. I don't think I see her in the room. Oops. Is Kimberly Hughes here? No, then Clarence, I guess I will turn it back over to you for closing comments.
Again, thank you very much, everyone, taking time out to provide comments and feedback. We value that. That's why the board members are here to hear it firsthand. Urge you again to complete the online survey. We look forward to receiving the survey results, and we pay close attention to it as we move forward in the search process. And again, on behalf of the board, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your comments. Julie?
Thank you, Clarence. Yes, and Jan and I also very much appreciate your insights and definitely take into account all of the thoughts that you all have shared with us this evening. And I would echo Clarence's encouragement to, if you have not already completed the survey, please do so, and please share the link with your colleagues and friends and get them to complete it as well, as it is really invaluable, will be invaluable to us as we work on finalizing the profile and to our recruitment efforts.
And it won't take you very much time either to do it, so please do follow up. We value all of your comments. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all again for your time. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Good night, everyone.